Mr. Dilip Chinoy, who is the secretary, currently the Secretary General of Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, FICCI. But why I wanted to mention that is very significant for Nepal to also understand, and for you to listen to him, is that he has been spearheading the skills mission of India before taking up this job. He has been 19 years in CII, but that's some time back. But in between, he has spearheaded the National Skills Development Corporation, which has brought in this culture of skills. We were all into typical liberal higher education, or rather armchair higher education. The culture of skills, and in every campus that he has brought in, has made a big impact. And that's also at the core, perhaps in some way, in the new education policy, which gives an adequate importance to skills today. But currently, he is the Secretary General of FICCI. FICCI is the oldest and the largest trade body, industries body of India in South Asia, and one of the largest in Asia. Over to Mr. Dilip Chinoy from FICCI.
Thank you, Professor Chaudhary, and it was a pleasure to hear Dr. Chaudhary and see also the video on his book. To all the other panelists who have joined us this evening, my good friend Mr. S.Y. Siddiqui, I see Dr. Maitri from IIM Nagpur, and also I see Mohammad Rashuddin, who is the founder, Vice Chancellor and Chief Advisor, Professor of East West University, Bangladesh. It is good because in the morning I started my day with an address by the Minister Palak on startups in Bangladesh. There is good that in the evening I actually get to hear you here, as well as Ms. Gauri Ishwaran, if you joined, and of course Sri Sir Vasuli and Mr. Babul Mohanty. So a very good evening to you. I have a very short address, as Ujjwal knows that I actually prefer question answer formats into lecture.
We will take questions. We will take questions.
I would just say that, since you have spun the topic from, education industry integration in India to whole Southeast Asia there, but I think the principles are very, very simple. And you have actually enlarged the canvas from preschool to school and to university. So I think fundamentally, what could industry do to help and bring this integration about? Today, in most countries in South Asia, if you look at the school education, a lot of people say that, if you take the reports of the ASAR report in India, it says that, a class 5 student can't even read, class 1 text or do something like that. Second, what comes out is that infrastructure in schools, etc., is not good enough. And you've heard the great work that Dr. Chaudhary has been doing in this area. The third thing which comes out is that the people coming out of the system don't have soft skills or don't have knowledge about industry, and therefore, they can't be employed. And, industry I'm using in a very general way. A lot of people, education institutions who recruit, looking at lecturers to recruit entry-level lecturers, don't find people, with the correct skills to do that, whereas they may be academically pretty good. And similarly, research institutions don't find, adequate people from there. So industry could do multiple things. But the most important thing for industry to do is actually signal to the education system what are the type of people that they would require at this year, in the next 5 years. I mean, we tend to forget that it's 12 years and 6 years in undergrad. If you go into engineering, you would be doing 5 years. Or if you go into additional management schools, since we have a management here, you actually will graduate in 2 years. And if you were in management school 2 years ago, the skills that people are looking for today are totally different than what would have been, told to you about 2 years ago. So the first important thing that we need to do is to be able to signal to the different levels of education what are the competencies that we require. And since Professor Chaudhary referred to my tenure in NSDC, we actually integrated, you know, the competencies, which is skills, attitude, and knowledge combination, into class 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that when a person actually came out, right, he went into, he could have the option of actually choosing what she or he wanted to go here. And once that signaling is done, then of course, we should help in building curriculums to actually enable translating that competencies and enabling the students in the classroom to be able to learn and also have the ability to learn and take it forward. The second aspect, and it actually happens right from junior school, and we don't tend to actually, we tend to ignore it, is that we should provide an industry exposure, whether it is getting students to visit. When I was a young kid, I remember my visits in Hyderabad to the then Coke factory or the National Institute of Nutrition or to ICRISAT, or to that time Sunsip was a brand there, and we even visited the neighborhood petrol pump, right? So how do you actually see and expose people at different level to what's happening in industry? And then of course there are different versions as you go. There's an apprenticeship program if you're looking at 8, 9, 10th, 11th, and 12th, depending on what you want to do. There's an internship, or there's a summer school. And one big challenge is that most engineering students have to actually do an industry experience. Unfortunately, what happens is that all the 3,000 plus engineering students, and including the management students, all want to do it in a particular semester in the year. And there is not sufficient capacity for actually enabling that to happen. So you can look at doing that around. The third area is industry could also, do guest lectures, or even, go and talk to students in schools on the opportunities and, generally about what is happening in the world. And this is a great way of communicating to them there. And you look at it at a higher level, then you can look at, faculty engagement also into addressing issues of industry, since we have a management school here doing case studies on industry, doing R&D for industry, and looking at different types of interaction with industry. When I was at SIM and Sakren Siddiqui was with Maruti, we actually set up a HR committee, right, there, and we did a lot of work with different stakeholders in that space. Or we actually, they have actually set up, Maruti has actually set up an incredibly efficient e-learning system. And with, Mr. Gupta there, they have a hugely, training center for a lot of different people in their various factories. So we also then look at what could industry, faculty and academic institutions can look at designing special short-term courses, executive programs, and also do research papers there. And again, I just was really fascinated by the way that Mr. Chaudhary said that he doesn't want to talk, but he also wants to share what they're actually doing. And I'll just also quickly follow that example. That FICCI itself has developed a center of excellence on a national knowledge functional hub in partnership with SV University in Tirupati. It is a collaborative framework focusing on strengthening collaborations and interactions between academia and industry to increase the employability of engineering graduates. And this model is taken to all other colleges and universities around the country. We've done a Future X initiative where we have done batches of faculty development programs, training over 700 faculty members from 26 states. I know in terms of percentages it's small, but then it's really to empowering the faculty to do effective use of tools and technologies, to look at new pedagogies and also engagement strategies and assessments. With AICT, we also partnered with them on the AICT Atal program to orient faculty and researchers in the area of emerging technologies, including AI and other things like that, in that area. The other thing is that we've been looking mobility and logistics, in the whole area of capacity building for healthcare workers. So that's another area in COVID thing that we were doing. And if you look at the school education side, we've actually, our FICCI Arise members are actually adopting government schools in different states and looking at it. Besides that, in the South Asian region, in the ASEAN region, we enable scholarships for students in from foreign universities to come into India, either from developing countries or from the ASEAN region, on research projects. So you need a university or a student from a university in abroad with a university in India and an industry in India, and then a scholarship is actually given there. So while I have articulated what the bridge could be, right, between academia and industry, I've also shared with you what specific things have been done there. And finally, again, the 4 sector skill councils that we run, media and entertainment, sports, capital goods and strategic engineering and food processing, is actually developing competencies and developing curriculum for different institutions at different level, and saying that if you actually train your students to this level, they can either do research for industry, or they can be employed by industry going forward. So I only want to share these few points here. I believe that it is very important to do that, and to bridge the gap. What we are launching in a broader sense between startups and between academia and science and industry is a fortnightly series starting next week on science meets industry or startups meets industry, where we just want to get people together, interact, and find ways to collaborate. I think I would end by a quote which I heard this morning from Minister Palak. Alone we can go fast, but together we can go far. And I believe that together, if the South Asian nations collaborate and work together, as it is there, you can actually make it big. So thank you very much for this opportunity.